Hey there, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Listen to Larry with your host, me, Larry Bammer, One Real Mortgage, and I'm thrilled today to have on this guest. I've been trying to get her on for weeks now. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the one, the only, the Garden Grove expert realtor and junior high school peer, Jen Tackney.
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. We go way back.
Yes.
At top of the world elementary school, actually. And Thurston Middle School. And you were talking about us wearing neon or something to do the late 80s and early 90s that we were there together. And you know that the kids call Stussy Stussy? They can't pronounce it right. I know.
Huh.
I'm floored. So that was our
I can't believe it's still around.
Yeah. And it's very, he's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, since we've known each other for so long, we're talking 30 years. I'll let you give one fond memory of me.
Wow. That's
appropriate.
That's appropriate. Yeah. Because my memory of you don't remember. Because Laguna Beach, we had a lot of fun partying in Laguna Beach. Not Larry. Larry was a police explorer and he was a very good kid. Mm-hmm. And I would be walking down the canyon to a not so good kid's house to have some fun. And he said to me, "We all know what you're doing when you're walking down the canyon and where you're going." And I was like, that's probably the memory that actually helped me to know that, I wasn't hiding it from anyone when I was misbehaving. So it was actually very, very helpful that you said that. And that's probably why it stays, but Larry was always the skinny kid from Arch Beach Heights that, you were always happy and fun. And, it was he lived across the street from my best friend at the time, Katie Kalaki.
Yeah. Who's now in Canada doing archaeology digs.
Yeah,
and
like the craziest stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She's like Ross Geller.
Yeah.
Like looking for bones.
Okay, so how did you go from kid at Laguna Beach to running probably one of the biggest producing real estate teams in West Garden Grove? How did you get into real estate?
So essentially I was attempting to go to college. I spent about 6 years in junior college in Fullerton. And I moved out of my dad's house and started renting a room from a friend of mine. And my dad was still paying my rent and helping me, get my car out of repo because I just was waiting tables and not making much money. And so he said, I can't pay your bills anymore. You need to get a job. So I called my friend who was doing mortgage loans, who they had always said, "You have the gift of gab. You'd be really great at this." So I called him and he goes, "Yeah, come in Monday. Let's get started." And so I started doing mortgage loans and started making really good money. It was back in the Big Short days. He had a license plate frame that he's absolutely not proud of because he's still in mortgage that said YSP for me on his BMW. So yield spread premium, the thing that they got rid of with TRID, that back end hidden big chunk of dough. So I did that. And then he said, "I'm going to get my real estate license so I can work for the Department of Corporations and the DRE." And I said, "I'll do it," with him. And then I got my real estate license and always had it and kept it active, even though I wasn't using it because I got into recruiting. That I was trying not to work when I was planning our wedding with Jeff, and he forced me to get a job. So I was like, "I'm just going to do a temp job." And they called me and said, "Oh, you're so great at this. I think you should be in our office to being a recruiter full time." So then I ended up with a full-time job, even though I was trying not to work. And, I got fired during the 2009 demise of the economy, right? So it's really let go because it was staffing and everyone was getting rid of their staff. And that's when Jeff was working with an investor again, flipping properties, and he was writing 20 offers a day. So he needed me to come in and do that. Yeah. So I learned real estate by doing everything wrong. I mean, like old realtors would call me and go, "Are you going to sign the offer you just sent me?" And I said, yeah, can you tell me where I'm supposed to sign it? They're like, the last page right there next to you. I go, okay, great. You know, they're like, are you going to send me some disclosures?
Yeah.
Sure. What are disclosures? So I got to learn from other realtors by doing it wrong. And so it gave me a lot of insight of.
And how long have you been in the industry now? In
real estate. So licensed since 2003, but full-time since 2009.
Wow.
So January 2009 is when I was full-time. And we've just worked with that one investor until 14. And in 2014 is when we completely changed our business model to geographic farming.
Okay. We'll get into that in a second. So now you and Jeff both run your brokerage. You have a small SEAL team, assistant. On average, how many transactions do you do a year?
So our best year was 112. Last year, with 40% less homes on the market, was 57. And this year, right now, we have about 13 listings at the beginning of February.
Wow.
So
what's your goal then for 2024?
I would like to get back to 100
mm-hmm.
for 2024.
It's very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of work too, because we have the 3 teenagers, a preteen, but it's just really rewarding we always call, we're licensed fiduciaries to get people the most money. So we're heavy on the list side. So that's really rewarding, and helping the buyers is great as well.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how do you manage a marriage and 3 kids, and a very successful business all together so well?
So it looks like it's managed
Sure
really
does.
well on the outside. So some days I feel like, you know what, it would be great to not be your business partner, to just be your wife. Like what an amazing marriage we would have if I didn't have to ask you, why didn't you take care of this on this deal, or what happened with this deal, right? So just reminding myself to stay in gratitude over, there are a lot of fish in the sea, and I had other choices, and I chose him for a reason, and it's for his analytical brain that I don't have. Like, as we know, I'm high I, high D.
You didn't choose him for his good looks?
It was definitely, that was helpful.
Sure.
It's so funny because so my husband's very attractive. And so I feel like it's good that I didn't think, he probably hates that I say this, but I wasn't swooning over him. He was tall. I thought, oh, he's kind of cute, little dorky, but cute. I should marry a guy like that, is literally what I thought when I met him.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if I was, too into his looks and into him, it probably, how guys are, he would have been like, get away. So it was, it definitely, the tall drink of water was helpful.
Yeah.
And then,
but analytical as well.
So he was an administrative assistant when I met him, and he would wake up at 6 a.m. and iron his clothes and to go to work for less money than he made at Costco when he was putting himself through college. So that type of ambition, commitment, work ethic, I thought, you know what, this is someone who will be a great partner. And it's held true. So he's the broker. He's the one who decided to get his broker's license, his contractor's license. I don't really have those desires to be, so we make more money by him being the broker and not having that split. Whereas I just want to knock on doors all day.
Yeah. Who's more client facing?
Me.
Like personality, or is he more analytical, like running the business, and you're the outgoing high eye,
Exactly. Like how Tom Ferry talks about the artist operator.
Yeah.
So he's absolutely the operator. Like today he was dating down
necklace
on
like that, you better be the artist.
So on this necklace, I wore this because I got it in Laguna Beach on Forest Avenue, this place called Duet. So I wanted to bring our Laguna Beach roots to the podcast. Gotta love Laguna. But
so back to your day and how you manage this. Then you said okay, I try to balance everything out. For people that are watching, that have that are doing that mother-daughter or spouse team, how do you separate it? Do you not? You like at work you're talking real estate, and at home, over dinner you're talking real estate, or is there a rule you guys have of at this point we're done, we back the next day?
We do our best to separate it when we're home. My mom always said to me that one of her biggest mistakes was that when she was at work, she would feel guilty for not being at home with me. And when she was at home with me, she'd feel guilty for not being at work. So I kind of really took that to heart, and where it's like, if I'm home, I'm just going to do my best to be present and home. And when I'm at work, I'm going to do my best to not be distracted and be at work. And so we have rules. Like if someone else gets a listing in our geographic farm, we just, of course, want to, like, it's just, we're very, we're so happy for them. Right. So we don't talk about, it's like, don't ruin my day. If I haven't seen it, like, let's just wait and let me see it. Versus you telling me, because, don't shoot the messenger. You always want to shoot the messenger. Right. So that kind of stuff where we're like, okay, is it urgent? Yeah. Then we need to talk about it. Otherwise, let's just do our best to, leave it at work.
Okay. You mentioned Tom Ferry, so I'll ask you, I'm curious, what's morning routine like running a family and business?
Yes. So morning routine was really dialed in pre-COVID. And, Atomic Habits, all those books that talk about the habits. So unfortunately, I'm not as dialed in now because I had that habit of just being a little more laxed. Yeah. But up in the morning, Jeff's taking one to school. I'm taking another one to school. The oldest one drives, luckily. Do our best to be in the office by 8:30, 9 o'clock. And still need to tighten up that morning routine, because right now too, in our life with a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and 11-year-old, I talk to my coach a lot about this. I have such a short period of time with them right now where they're going to be out of the house and I'm going to be an empty nester. So I am really focused on them and spending time with them and making sure that their needs are met, as well as running my business. So
you mentioned gratitude. That's how you zero yourself back. What are you grateful for?
Well, Jeff and I will have been married for 20 years in September. So, right, huge. Because I am such a high I, my only other long-term relationship was a year and a half. So once I passed that year and a half, I'm like, yes. I'm grateful for having children that are open and honest with us and come to us with stuff. We get to own our home in Southern California, which is amazing. And my clients and friends, I'm actually really grateful to be in real estate because my clients do become my friends, and the referrals that we're getting now that we're so well established as well. So, I'm grateful for this opportunity too.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Business-wise, you are known. You mentioned coaching and Tom Ferry. You are known across the country, which is amazing to think of as an expert in what in the real estate space they call geographic farming. You've presented to agents across the country about how to run a business in farming. Let that sink in, right? Yeah,
it's hard to. It's hard to really acknowledge. I'm, super grateful.
So if you're an agent watching this and you're thinking, okay, I've heard geographic farming, take me back to the first time when you guys together started farming in West Grove, and what did it look like?
Well, it was actually my baby, because Jeff had the relationship with the investor, because Jeff has more of that analytical supporter behavioral style. So he can do really well with high Ds. I clash, of course, because I'm a high I, high D. And so I felt like a kept woman. I felt like his assistant it was 2000, late 2000, it was August 2013, around that time. And I just felt like if Jeff were to, something tragic were to happen, or if we were to split up, I had nothing. I had no, it felt like I didn't have any skills. I was just someone else's assistant. So I decided that it was time for me to kind of just get back into, I'm a feminist. It's my thing. And I just wanted to kind of invent myself again. So started geographic farming, because my neighbors had always said there was a dominant agent who's older, and they were always like, you should, compete with her. And it wasn't so much her, but there was a guy that was Mike Ferry trained. And what he would do was he would just collect signs. And he'd been licensed since 1978, which is the year we were born. Yeah. So I was like, he's been licensed since the year I was born. So I would try and get into his houses. I'd leave 5 messages. He wouldn't show them. It was just a horrible. And I said, the consumer deserves better. I want to really feel good about myself again and feel like I'm contributing to my life. And so that's how geographic farming started for me. I bought 10 signs and I started calling other agents to hold open the houses in my
10
farm.
open house signs.
Yep, 10 open house signs.
So you started I guess before with a mindset of I need to do something for myself, take control of my own life, my financial future. So I'm going to get 10 open house signs and find any agent that I can hold open house.
Within that zip code.
Within the zip code that you wanted to eventually dominate.
Exactly. Okay. And it was 3,200 homes, which is far too many for most people to start a farm.
Yeah.
So it was an S&S built tract that was called Garden Park Estates. So I was focused on that track. And someone asked me to do a neighborhood garage sale. They had asked another realtor and that realtor backed out. And they said, will you help us? And I said, absolutely. I'll flyer the neighborhood. And then I bought more signs, 20 more garage sale signs. And I started with that garage sale. And then I decided to have 16 other garage sales the following year.
Wow.
Maybe even 27, actually.
In different parts of that zip code.
So that zip code's broken up into 10 zones because the neighborhood watch had done that. So I just took those zones, and some of them will do 2 zones at a time. But that first year I did 27 garage sales. And in each garage sale, we pass out donuts, only Krispy Kreme because they deserve the best, right? We're not going to do the pink box from down the street.
Yeah.
And so just 6 donuts too. So you can get a dozen donuts, break them up into 6. And so people are excited to see us. And then we get to meet people. We get their email address and their phone number.
So I'm curious now, when you teach or you do an open house on your own listing, how many open house signs are you putting out now? Oh
my gosh. So yesterday it was torrential downpour.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the open house, and now we have interns who help us. So Shane is our current intern, and he just got his license, and he put up, I want to say 25, maybe 40.
Wow.
All in the, hit all in the center divider.
Amazing.
So I picked up 5 of them, and then I asked my husband and my father too. I was like, hey, can you guys go get these signs? And they did.
Good husband.
Yeah, very good.
Interns, is that a temporary position that you do throughout the year?
It's an assistant position. We kind of call it an intern, but really I call it an intern because it's kind of a hazing position. Like it's all the stuff that sucks about real estate I just give to them. Lock boxes. So it's really kind of a runner.
Yeah.
Lock boxes, signs, flyer boxes, making sure those are filled. So it's a full-time revolving position. So as they move on from that to a showing assistant position and then to a realtor.
Okay. So really quickly, and then I want to move on to something else. Open houses, garage sales, bullet point really quickly. What is your farming bucket look like? What are the things that else you're doing?
So right now we just put out our 16 garage sales for the year. So we'll be doing 16 garage sales in that neighborhood. We open house with broker previews and twilight open houses. As soon as daylight savings comes back, we do wine and cheese 5 to 7, meet the neighbors. In a perfect world, we're knocking 10 doors each direction. I've been too busy, honestly, to do it. But the best is to come out and say, I'm personally inviting you to this open house we're having, right? And meeting them.
Here's your listing, 10 on this side, 10 on this side.
And 10 across the street.
And 10 across the street.
Because that's who's going to list next.
Yep.
And then community events. So we have our annual shred event. We have our annual photos with the Easter Bunny in our office. We have a giant 2 to 3,000 person Christmas event at a park in the farm called the Jingle Jam. And so that looks like photos with Santa, train rides for $1. There's a nonprofit from the community that benefits. So awesome. AYSO Region 59 makes about $2,500 was the check we gave them. So vendors selling raffle prizes, and then schools performing, and local dance troupes and things performing on a big stage. That's the city stage. So it's similar to concerts in the park. And then we do always have a booth at the city's concert in the park as well, any chance that we get.
I know you've spoken before at Tom Ferry events on farming specifically. Is there a recording where you're giving out like that entire hour of this is what to do?
Yeah, I have 2 different ones.
Cool. So at the end of this podcast, contact information will be up. If you want to reach out, if you're a realtor, it doesn't matter where in the country, right? Reach out to you, get in touch. She's like your Orange County referral partner. She'd be happy to share you that information. So 2024, you're off to a big start already with 13 listings, right? What does it look like? When do you think you're going to have the peak of listings? What's the market going to look like this year? What are you telling your sellers first?
Okay, that's good, because what I tell myself versus what I tell my sellers is totally different.
Yeah.
So sellers, what I pretty much always tell them is that best time to sell is after Super Bowl Sunday, prior to Halloween. So that's when you're going to get the most buyers in the market, the most bang for your buck. We know the feds are meeting again. We're anticipating that being an election year, hopefully that they're not going to raise, they're going to not raise rates, which is great. So we think it's a great time to sell, especially that springtime of April, May. And we're still going to have low inventory because people are not moving unless there's life events, retirement, death, diapers, all that
Have
stuff.
any of your listings recently gotten more than one offer?
Yeah, so most of them do. So I have one on Emerald that currently has 2 offers. I have the fixer-uppers. So as we know, because we've done over 200 flips from 2003 to 2014, I don't sell fixer-uppers off market. I make sure they're on the MLS so that hopefully investors will overpay for them. Yeah. So we just had a fixer-upper in Buena Park. That was a